Metonymy. Now, metonymy is similar to what we just talked about, synecdoche, but it's different because metonymy does not deal with the parts or whole. Metonymy deals with something that is closely related to it. So it is the substitution of a whole for something that is associated with it or closely related with it. So imagine this statement: Aso Rock is coming to the meeting. Aso Rock is coming to the meeting. What am I trying to tell you? Aso Rock is synonymous with what? Or with who? The president, right? Or anybody in the presidency. So if I say Aso Rock is coming to the meeting, I'm trying to tell you that the president is coming to the meeting. I have used Aso Rock, something associated with the president, to, talk about the president or the presidency. Next figure of speech, litotes. Now, litotes is basically the opposite of hyperbole, right? And since hyperbole is exaggeration, right, litotes is just saying the opposite of something that you want to say, right? It's using negation. It's saying the opposite of what you want to say. It's saying something negative to talk about what you want to actually say that is positive. So if I tell somebody he's no dullard, right, I'm trying to tell you that he is intelligent. But instead of saying he's intelligent, I just said he's no dullard or he's no fool, right? He's not a fool, basically. All right, to the next one. Antithesis. What is antithesis? Antithesis is placing two contrasting ideas in a statement to achieve a sharp contrast, or for the sake of emphasis, is what? Placing two contrasting ideas, right, to achieve what? Sharp contrast, or for emphasis sake. Now, look at this example. To err is human. To forgive is divine. So we have placed human on one side and divinity on the other side. We've placed error on one side and we've placed forgiveness on the other side. So placing two contrasting ideas to show a sharp contrast. One more example. Man proposes, God disposes. So that's a sharp contrast. Man does what he likes, God scatters it. Basically. All right. The next form of figures of speech we have is allusion. Now, allusion is a figure of speech that references a person, place, thing, or event to achieve a special effect. Basically, I'm going to be saying the word achieve a special effect because that's what figures of speech is about. It's about achieving a special effect. So it's about referencing a person, place, thing, or event. But to use allusion, you have to take note of something. You cannot use an allusion that you are not sure that your audience is familiar with. So imagine, let's take an example of allusion, for example. Chocolate is his kryptonite. Chocolate is his kryptonite. Now, if the person I'm addressing or the people I'm addressing do not know what kryptonite is, they'll probably not know what I'm trying to tell them. But if you're familiar with what kryptonite is, you're probably thinking, oh, okay, Superman. Oh, okay, kryptonite. Yeah. So if I say chocolate is kryptonite, I'm trying to tell you chocolate is his, you go to it, you die. Because that's what happens to Superman. When he goes close to kryptonite, he starts losing his power. Right. Let's take one more example. Stop trying to save everyone. You are not Wonder Woman. So basically, if you've not watched Wonder Woman or your audience has not watched Wonder Woman, that is just going to create more confusion for your audience. So you have to make sure that to use allusion, that your audience knows the alluded entity, right? So if you've watched Wonder Woman, you know that she's always trying to save the world or always trying to save people in danger, which is what we are telling this person not to do. Stop trying to save everyone. You are not Wonder Woman. The next figure of speech I'm talking about is Anaphora. Anaphora. This is a figure of speech that represents particular words or phrases within a speech. Okay, let me take that again. It repeats a particular word or phrase within a statement or a speech. So You probably have heard a statement like this. He was doing the wrong thing at the wrong place in the wrong time. What's special about that statement? The repetition of the word wrong, right? So we're just trying to tell him that he was at the wrong place. That's probably why he was arrested. He was at the wrong place. He was doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So that is an example of anaphora, repeating words, right, in a sentence. It doesn't have to be words. It could be phrases, words or phrases in a given speech. The next figure of speech, we're choosing it, innuendo. That sounds like innuendo, if you know. Innuendo. Now, innuendo is very similar to euphemism, right? But euphemism, remember when we talked about euphemism, we said euphemism talks about trying to say something that is unpleasant in a pleasant way. But innuendo is also very, very similar. It's just that even though innuendo is saying it in a pleasant way, that is not the motive of innuendo. Innuendo is saying such a thing to actually disapprove or to discredit the person that's talking. That is derogatory. It's trying to sound very derogatory to the person that is involved or spoken about. So while euphemism will say, euphemism will probably say she is every man's wife. That is just to say she's a prostitute, right? If we just calmed the fact, instead of jumping and saying someone is a prostitute, you could just say she's every man's wife, right? But innuendo doesn't say that. Innuendo doesn't do that. Innuendo actually does it so that it ridicules or shows the action to be derogatory and bad, basically. So innuendo will go something like, rather than read, students look for a way to get logistics in their exams. So logistics there is a very mild word for saying that they are trying to cheat or they're trying to buy extra help, right? Now, you could also say, don't destroy what you have because you want to have fun. Now, fun there, that statement doesn't even sound friendly, right? Because you're trying to tell somebody, or you're basically advising somebody to not destroy their life because of few minutes of pleasure, basically. All right, so we're going to the next figure of speech. Understatement. Now, people have always said, I know people that just say, oh, that's an understatement, and they don't actually know what an understatement is. Well, let me make it clear. An understatement is a figure of speech that is portraying the opposite, or better put, it is trying to talk down of something that is very, very serious, right? So, there's a very serious matter at hand, and you're trying to make it seem or look less serious. So let's take this example. I have a tumor in my brain, but it's okay. There's nothing being okay. There's nothing okay about having a tumor in your brain. Everybody knows that's a very, very serious issue. That's basically like having cancer, right? So having a tumor in your brain and trying to say, I'll be fine. No, he won't be fine. Or you're trying to say, somebody tells you, you failed most of the subjects or you failed most of the courses, but everything is fine. It will be okay. No, sir. No. Everything cannot be fine when you have failed most of the courses. But you get the point. It's trying to make something that's very, very serious or of high importance to seem less so. All right. Let's move on. Irony. I intentionally decided to treat this irony last because it is very wide, right? It's not just irony. It has irony and it has children, if you understand what I mean. So, what's irony basically? Irony is the figure of speech that uses contrast or opposition to achieve a certain effect. All right? It is basically like paradox, basically, but its meaning is beyond what you can see on the surface, right? It is saying something and meaning the opposite, right? Now, there are types. Before I give you an example of irony, let's talk about the types, because with the types, you understand the examples better. There are three types of irony. We have the verbal irony, we have the dramatic irony, and we have the situational irony. What's the verbal irony? From the word verbal, it already tells you that it's spoken, right? So it is saying something and meaning the opposite, right? Verbal irony is saying something and meaning the opposite. So let's have an example like, imagine it's raining cats and dogs, right? and you come and say, what a wonderful weather we have today. There's nothing wonderful about the weather that has been raining, like all day, right? So that's a verbal irony. You are saying something, you are saying what a wonderful weather we have today, but somebody who is listening to you will know that, you are actually saying the opposite. Or, peradventure, my mom usually walks into my room and, when it is in an organized mess, she would come and say, wow, I think I'm in paradise, or am I in paradise? So now what she's trying to say is that, wow, your room is so clean. That's another verbal irony I just did there. So that's it basically. It is saying something and meaning the other. Next one, dramatic irony. Now, dramatic irony is basically used in drama, right? Or movies, right? Let's relate. It's basically used in movies. And you know that part of a movie where you know something that the characters in the movie don't know. Basically, so dramatic irony is that situation where you know something more about the present or the future circumstance or event that characters in the work or the play or the movie or whatever literature do not even know about. For example, let's assume that you were watching a movie on the Titanic, right? And then you see a character that comes and leans on the balcony and says, wow, this is such a beautiful view. I wish I could die here. Now, you that have watched Titanic, you definitely know that he is going to die, even though he that is making the statement doesn't know it, but you already know it, right? So that's a form of dramatic irony. Let's take another example. You have something like, imagine a horror movie where a character goes to hide in a place or hide in a room where the killer just entered. You'll be like, oh my God, what is this lady doing? Or what is this guy doing, right? Because you know that the killer is there and she's running into the same room that the killer is. Meanwhile, she's trying to run away. So that's what a dramatic irony. It is you knowing something that the characters in a work of art do not know. Finally, situational irony. Situational irony is basically expecting one thing and something else happening in its place. So situational irony is a situation from the word itself, right? So something is supposed to happen. There's a norm of something that you expect to happen, but something else happens. So imagine a thief imagine thieves robbing a police station. Imagine the fire station getting burned down, right? Imagine somebody who has a PhD saying school has come, right? Or imagine a marriage counselor going for divorce. So that is what is situational irony. You do not expect somebody who is a marriage counselor to be divorcing, right? Because he's supposed to make your marriage work, but he's making a divorce himself, all right? Or somebody who is in school, he's probably looking for another degree, probably his master's or his PhD, and he's telling you school has come. Please don't listen to them. So that is what is situational irony. The next thing we're going to be looking at is sarcasm. Now, many people confuse irony with sarcasm, and I don't blame them. It's because sarcasm is actually an extension of irony, right? So sarcasm is basically a form of verbal irony that is saying something, meaning the opposite, right? But its main purpose is to ridicule and make fun of the person. Yeah, so it's kind of trying to, tell the person that, making fun of the person, basically, to make the person feel bad. It's a very, I'm looking for a word. It's a bitter cutting speech. It's like they're attacking you, basically. So imagine somebody says, you are so good that even Einstein, or you are so intelligent that even Einstein is not a match for you. And meanwhile, that same person just failed his or her WAEC examination. What's that trying to tell you? It's trying to make fun of the person that you're really intelligent indeed, right? You're really intelligent. Or looking at a very disorganized team and saying, wow, you guys are on top of your game. right? They are disorganized. They've not achieved their goals, and you're telling them they are on top of their game. You are making fun of them, right? Or looking at, imagine somebody just telling you and say, did your parents actually give birth to children that actually lived? So what am I? I'm a child of my parents. But the person is trying to make fun of you and trying to say that you are not worthy of, being called your parents' child or children, basically. So yeah, that's what sarcasm is about. And I hope you have learned something today. So this is the end of our class, and let's go over what we talked about today. We talked about figures of speech, and I said that figures of speech are a deviation from the normal use of words or language to achieve a certain effect. And we talked about the types of figures of speech. We'll go over them again. Talking about simile, metaphor, personification, irony, paradox, synecdoche, oxymoron, onomatopoeia, metonymy, and the others that we mentioned today. So I'll see you in the next class. And in the next class, we're going to be talking about the genres, or like others like to say, the genres of literature. See you next class.